Ideally, when you cut this, you'd actually cut one end of it so it's catching half the stud. You can see we put one right there. I'll just give you another point to be able to attach this. And the other option is actually cut it from stud to stud. That way you can go ahead and hit both ends without using a backing strip. Still a good idea to use that backing strip so it doesn't sag back into the hole. Use a hammer. You saw what he did with the hammer the first time. Alright, now he's just going to toss a couple screws through the patch piece into the piece of wood that's behind it. That's going to keep it in place, keep it secure. Now, ideally, you're going to do one towards the top of the patch, one towards the bottom. You get about an inch in from the actual seam. Now, Travis is applying the mesh right over it. Like I was saying, this tape's nice to work with because it's actually sticky. A lot of times you see this type also. This, you're going to make sure that you have a little bit of mud on the back so that it'll stick to it, then you're going to mud right over it. With this, if you don't get it right, it's going to bubble up underneath the joint compound when you go to finish it. In this, when you're sanding it, since this is yellow, you're going to get a good feel for how far you should sand it. If you're sanding too much away or you don't have enough coverage on there, that yellow is going to stand out very stark against the grayish cream color of the joint compound. And they use the utility knife again. All 10 digits are still there. Now again, Travis is going to go over this with some joint compound. And you can see from here, he's not trying to cover the whole thing from the start. He's just going right over that tape. Get it all hidden. Now you can see he's covering the screw heads. That way that's not going to stand out when it's primered and painted. Again, the idea is to try to hide it as much as possible. Blend it into the rest of the form. Now that he's got all his joint compound out, he's going to go ahead and smooth it. He's not pressing real hard against it. He's just smoothing it out. Of course, obviously, this is a little bit easier when it's not down at ankle height. Should be going both ways. And you can see there, if it's not enough on there, you can see that yellow coming right through the joint compound. Once you have all your joint compound on the wall, what you're going to do is follow the directions as far as dry time. Some will be as quick as 45 minutes ready to work with. Others will take overnight. After that's all done, you might need to put a second coat on if you see it shrinking a lot. But after that, ready to start actually working and finishing. Real quick trying stuff. Also, given the opportunity to break stuff at work for 2-3 days to get a feel for how this is going to work out, these guys jumped right at it. Now on our first one, this is more like that little backhoe hole idea, like I said. All your finishing techniques is going to be about the same for what we're doing here. This is going to work best for a smooth surface, just like your typical wall. What he's doing is using a drywall sanding sponge, a sanding block, and just going over it, working it so that it gets nice and smoothed out.
It's just a fine, there's different blocks, there's fine, mediums.
He's just using a fine, but generally you'd start off with a 600, work your way down. Or sorry, 300, work your way down. And the biggest thing is he's trying to smooth out right in the middle, make sure there's no ridges, no gaps, nothing really standing out. And he's also working on the area around the actual path. That way he's smoothing it out. Like we said, feathering it in. This way as he sands it, it gets a nice smooth continuity. Once he's actually sanded it, the next step would be, this would be the sanded piece right here. Joint compound, just like drywall, is a porous material. You will need to prime it. You can see he's just using a small roller with a little bit of Valspar primer, latex primer on here. Just working it right over where everything was, nice and even. Once this is dried, you can go ahead and take the paint and actually go back over it. Sometimes you're lucky enough to have extra paint from when you did the project the first time down in your basement. One nice thing that Lowe's is offering nowadays is something called a My Lowe's card. This is not a credit card. This actually keeps track of your purchases. This is something to help you guys, not us. And what will happen is, let's say he went to Lowe's, bought a type of paint, had it mixed. When you go through the register, you scan this. This will actually save the mixture for them. Also, anything else that he buys. I myself, I use this for my furnace. I can, when I buy my furnace filters, put that on there. I can also go on and set a reminder so that I know 6 months from a certain date, go replace it, and I have the information on what size I bought. In this instance, we have the information for everything that he used, and of course the paint formula. Guys, you can stop by our booth for 2 seconds. We sign you up real quick and easy for it. We don't send you any kind of emails. This is something just to help you out, set up your reminders, and remember what you bought. Also works in place of your receipts too. Once we've got the primer dried, he's just going to go ahead and paint right over it. But one thing to remember, it's wet. It's not going to match perfectly at this point in time. It's going to dry a darker color to blend in right there. Now once he's let this dry, he's going to go ahead and go back. Obviously we don't have the time today, but he's going to go back, put a second coat in so that it blends in perfectly. You can see he's got everything completely covered there, going a little bit past so that it's blended in pretty well. And then the bottom, this is actually one that we did just like we did on the bottom of the other side. If you want to come up and take a look at the back, you can see where we put the lathing strip, did all these steps beforehand. A little chunky just because of the drywall dust getting kicked around up here, but you can see this right here, it was actually a slightly larger hole than the one on the other side, and these guys sat down, put it together, drywall, did the joint compound, did every step that we discussed today, and got it to look that good. Like I said, the idea when you're doing a patch, make it look like somebody didn't put their foot through the drywall. Guys, any questions?
There you go. Yeah.
And when it goes a little bit easier when you don't have 40 people looking at you. So, guys, thank you very much for your time. Right now, I'd like to introduce you to my friend Doug Peters. He's the head of the project specialist exteriors. He's going to discuss a few things that Lowe's can do for you.
Thank you for your time today. Good thing about Lowe's is we're here to help you for the do-it-yourself projects. But sometimes you got a project for your home that might be a little bigger than you want to take on yourself. Like for the fencing, decking, roofing, replacing your windows or doors. That's when you call me in. I'll come to your home. We'll evaluate the situation. We can figure out what products are going to work best for your home. Work at the price for material and labor. We can have our installers come out who are perfect experts in their field. They're certified, they're insured, they've been background checked, there's no issues as far as them coming to your home, and they'll install the project like it was perfectly done the right way. So Lowe's is here to help you guys when you're going to do it yourself or when you want us to do it for you. We got our booth just down the aisle there. Stop in and say hey. Be happy to address any questions you got. Thank you for your time.